Hello, 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 and everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Anchor Watch. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and well, it seems like each week there is something new that is happening, both within the United States and abroad. But this week we're going to talk specifically about what's happening in the United States. And there's some developments that I would love to talk about, but most importantly, I want to get your feedback on because I find this absolutely amazing what's happening. So, first, let's talk briefly about No Kings. Everybody and their mom has been talking about, how great the number, the sheer volume of force of people who've come out in all different communities all over the United States. It's significant. It's significant. You can't ignore it. Um, and it's so significant that it leads to, well, what what I kind of want to talk about. So President Trump um, did not want the most attention put on these events because the last one that they did was pretty significant. It was pretty big. It was a pretty big deal. And that's great. But what he did for a distraction is one of the most mind-boggling things I think I've seen in my entire lifetime. Um, I want to bring in Sam. Sam, first off, how are you doing, man? I just I don't want to be rude. I definitely want to just say hello and see how you're going. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, good. Loaded question, right? These days.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It is. But we try to do our best. We try to see the positive and give hope and find ways to move forward with all of this. But what were your impressions of No Kings this weekend?
So I like where you're going with this, and I think leading up to it, a lot of our watchers, a lot of our viewers, a lot of people who read Lincoln Square, in the chat, you say, well, what's a protest actually going to do? And
Right.
and I think that that's a fair point. I will say you went to a protest, didn't you?
Well, yeah. Well, I started at one, and then I felt so under the weather I had to leave early. But
No.
Well, yeah, I was struggling this weekend, and I went to the first one the entire time. So
yeah. Well, and so I would say, barring Patrick says, please be rude, Bobby, because I think he said I don't want to be rude. But barring illness, those protests are inspiring, and it reminds you that you have neighbors, there's strength in numbers, and all of this kind of stuff. But it's not. It also, to me, it reminded me that it's not enough.
Right. It is literally another step in a bigger phase that needs to continue. And I recommend, if you have not seen it, he always goes viral. But Jon Stewart at the Daily Show did a brilliant breakdown. Brilliant breakdown of the No Kings rally and why it's important. And the man did. I thought it was just hilarious. He did a spot inspection of the United States of America's current state based on the Declaration of Independence. Brought it out, put on the wig and went right down the list of the grievances the founding fathers had with the King of England. And boy, oh boy, did they do a great job of framing what's happening now to what happened in 1775 leading into 1776. It was uncanny. So I highly recommend it's on YouTube. Just type in Daily Show Jon Stewart. I'm sure it'll pop up first. Yeah. But in the distraction piece, because he saw what happened the first time, the numbers were larger this time. President Trump decided to send Vice President J.D. Vance, former Marine, no such thing as a former Marine, but whatever, for these purposes, former Marine, to Camp Pendleton in California. And can we bring up the headline of this?
A couple.
Absolute insanity. So when I first heard that they were going to do live fire exercises on the same Saturday as No Kings and couched it under the celebration of the United States Marine Corps' 250th birthday, I thought it was an Onion article. I thought it was somebody that made stuff up, Sam, because here's the thing. Anybody that knows anything about American history, and I would imagine the White House have historians somewhere in the vicinity, although the actions taken recently makes me doubt it. United States Marine Corps' birthday is November 10th, 1775, Tunn's Tavern, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Every Marine knows that. And at one point, I thought I was going to be a Marine before I decided the Navy told me I was going Navy. All of my family are Marines. Okay. Last I checked, October 18th ain't November 10th. So we're talking about a whole month almost earlier. They wanted the distraction. So what do? They decide to do live fire exercises, shooting into California from the coast, over Interstate 5, one of the busiest interstates in America, and say, hey, this is going to be great and we're going to be tough. And they sent, Vance, who was a photographer of the Marine Corps. Not that I'm knocking that. Not that I'm knocking that he stayed in the green zone the entire time he went on deployment. Not that I'm knocking any of that. But this fake tough guy thing. And of course, one of the 155 millimeter shells malfunctioned and detonated early, sending shrapnel everywhere on the highway. And if it wasn't for Governor Gavin Newsom blocking off that interstate, despite what the president's team told him, oh, it'll be fine, blah, blah, someone could have been killed. Now, if you've been listening to this show, I have always said, anytime you introduce military platforms into any environment, the risk of two things, miscalculation and malfunction, have now entered the chat. Okay? You hope that everything operates in accordance with, and you pray that, hey, your mission will be executed the way it was intended to be executed. But what we are getting is not that. Okay. What happened here was an unnecessary mission, introducing unnecessary lethal platforms into a civilian environment. They can say they were going for Camp Pendleton, but they had to go over civilians, a main thoroughfare for the United States of America, all because they had penis envy of the No Kings rallies. And someone could have been killed. Now, you may ask, how do I know about this? Okay, my bio. I'm not just a Navy guy, and I was in the military. No. I was an actual weapons officer. You go watch the movie, Hunt for Red October, all the, Crimson Tide, all this WEPS. I was WEPS, so my responsibility was every piece of ordnance on a U.S. destroyer. That includes missiles, that includes 5-inch shells, you name it. Okay, maintenance, responsibility, operation. This guy, and then fleeted up to become a combat systems officer to include all the radar systems, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not just saying this as, oh yeah, I've been around. It was my job. It was my job. And I literally could not wrap my noggin around. We're going to have a live ordnance exercise that flies over a major U.S. interstate in the middle of this huge time of protest in the United States. That tells me a couple of things. Number one, the American people and their lives do not matter. Number two, these guys, to include the President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense, suffer from the greatest imposter syndrome I have ever seen. And number three, it shows that there is no, and I mean no, forethought into something actually going wrong when they come up with an idea. Your thoughts, Sam?
Well, I mean, I have a lot of questions for you, Bobby, because I mean, we don't get to sit down with somebody of your caliber, so to speak, pun not intended, I guess. But in the chat, there are, some of the folks are saying like, well, who gave this order and how did the commander approve it? And obviously they're orders, and they take orders and they enact those orders unless they're really illegal orders. But what I want to know is, what were the Bobby Joneses, who were dealing with these weapons? What were they thinking as this order was given? Like, what was going through your mind if you had been told to just park off the coast of California and shoot inland?
It would have been, I can tell you exactly what my thought would have been. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot is what we say in the military. What the fuck? Like, I'm serious. I'm serious. Yeah. And mind you, we do have ranges where we shoot into the United States, right? But we have these ranges designed to avoid major thoroughways. We for the longest time in Puerto Rico, we had rosy roads where we would just drop ordnance, and then the environmentalists showed how it was hurting the environment, and we had to stop, which is completely understandable. So we have designated places where we do these things and we do testing. However, we don't do it when we know over 7 million people are gathering for protest all around the United States of America. We sure as hell don't do it then. And we sure as heck don't pick up a flight path where we know it's going to go over a major interstate, because even if there was nobody there, which there wasn't except for the patrol car that got lit up, you could damage a major part of American infrastructure, right? So there's nothing that you can tell me that justifies this event. And then, of course, again, my original point, November is when the United States Marine Corps celebrates its birthday, and they celebrate it right. They do a great job, but this wasn't it. They needed something to distract, and they were willing to put American lives needlessly at risk, American infrastructure needlessly at risk, and then want people to sit there and be like, oh, there's J.D. Vance, the ex-Marine sitting there, and he's trying to talk tough and dirty with his former Marines. Complete nonsense. Fake tough guy acts. This is not a 1980s action movie, but that's what they think it is.
That's the thing. And you said this ordinance could have damaged infrastructure. That's what it's for. That's exactly what this thing, it's for, to damage infrastructure or personnel, right? That is what these things are created for. It's not for show, but it reminds me of when the Epstein survivors held a press conference. I don't even remember this. It was about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and we covered it. And here on Lincoln Square, we had several survivors on, and it was a really gripping moment. And they were, at the Capitol. They really bravely spoke up. And I don't know if you remember this, but Trump and Hegseth had deployed jets to do flybys. And so every few minutes, I don't know if you all remember that in the chat, but it was obscene. And it was just so disrespectful. But this is somehow, I mean, that was pretty bad. But this is worse because it was potentially deadly. There was a non-zero chance, clearly, that something was going to go wrong, and it did go wrong.
Right. And so the other piece of this, too, that people need to understand, I've already mentioned that the military, what we do is inherently dangerous. Even if you're a ship in port or aircraft on a runway, it's inherently dangerous because A, you make yourself a target by even being there. But number two, or B rather, for things to work correctly, the science, the physics, the calculations involved. So to shoot something, say, from a ship, but in this case, howitzers or whatever, you have to take into account a lot of things, atmospherics, physics, etc. And then nowadays, unlike in World War II and stuff like that, where you had to calculate it out and had an analog computer help you, you have very highly functioning, sophisticated systems to help. The problem is they're so sophisticated that there could be a glitch. Something could happen. You know what I'm saying? You do maintenance checks repeatedly, preventative maintenance system checks to help deal with that. But at the same time, you just never 100% know. You do everything you can to reduce risk, but risk is inherently there. So somebody in that chain of command, Donald Trump, and then Hegseth signing off on it, said, this risk is worth it. Hey, someone could get hurt. Worth it, because we don't want the full effect of the No Kings Protest 2.0 to be felt. We need to have a counter narrative. We need to have a counter demonstration. Okay, let's hijack the United States Marines. Let's do it in California, where we know Gavin Newsom hates us the most. And let's do it a whole month before the Marine Corps' birthday, just to change the narrative. That is what you're dealing with, people who are willing to risk American lives and property to change a narrative from, hey, the country is pissed off with you. Period. You have people that voted for you who marched against you on Saturday. That's a you problem. That's a you problem. And
Yeah.
and I hate to break it to you, but this thing called leadership, you know, you want all of the accolades and this, that, and the other, but this thing called leadership means you are going to be held accountable by the people that put you in office, and you are responsible for your actions. So if someone was to have died, let's say a patrolman who was in that car or something like that died, what excuse were you going to come up with? Who were you going to blame? Just like with the tariffs and the economy, who are you blaming? That's you. That's not Biden. That's you. That is your policy. Right.
They say, the patrolman miscalculated the angle of the trajectory of the projectile and shouldn't have parked there. It's dumb. It's all dumb. And Patrick is really on a roll tonight, as he was last night. He says Hegseth is an expert at fluid dynamics, and he means drinking.
I mean, but he's right. I mean, but here's my thing. Here's my thing, and this leads into the second story that we're going to talk about. We're only going to be like 30 minutes a day, people. The Washington Times just released an article that talks about how all the generals and admirals in the United States military say basically Hegseth has lost us. Okay. I can, first of all, the Washington Times, if you know anything about American media, they ain't exactly where hippies go to get their news. Okay. I'm just gonna be very clear. That is not what they do. They are the exact opposite. Pretty goddamn conservative. And that being said, for them to publish this article means that they are overwhelmingly hearing from the admirals and generals of the United States military, and they're hearing it despite being banned from the Pentagon. Let's remember, last week, Hegseth pulled everybody's media credentials from the Pentagon, with the exception of One News, One America Network. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody gave up their Pentagon credentials. So for them to be able to put this article together, Sam, means people proactively reached out to them. And in the article, and I highly recommend everybody go and look at this article. There is zero trust amongst the flag officers. And when I say flag officers, that's short for admirals and generals. That's 1 star and above in all services. The flag officers do not have faith in the civilian leadership. That's Hegseth. That's the people he's appointed. I mean, they fired half of those guys and then couldn't get anybody hired to replace them because it's that much of an absolute cluster right now. And the main thing that jumped out to me, Mr. I'm going to bring all of you to Quantico and I'm going to dress you down like you're some privates. All of them are saying the military's readiness is being affected by this tomfoolery. So if something pops off, the capability for the United States military to act in a decisive manner has been compromised by Pete Hegseth being Secretary of Defense. I want that to marinate for a second. They are reaching out, although anonymously they have to, but they're reaching out to the media, and they're not going to freaking Huffington Post. They're not going to liberal news media to do it. They're going to the Washington Times because they know it's seen as conservative. They're trying to tell a message to the American people. Forget your political leanings for a second. We have people in charge that are dangerous. The same thing is being said about the FBI with Kash Patel in charge.
Yeah.
We have these hacks that have no business in the position that they're in. And now the rank and file, the people who actually do the war fighting, are saying we are compromised in our ability to do so because of that man in the position. Now, I'm wondering, the House is out of session. They got to come back here in a minute. But the Senate, the adults in Congress, they're going to see this article that just came out today. Can't wait to see the reaction. Can't wait. Trump is meeting with John Thune, I think here today or this evening. There's a lot they got to discuss. Because when you have generals and admirals saying, I have no faith in your Secretary of Defense, he's got to go. If he had any honor and integrity, he would resign tonight.
Look, if he had honor and integrity, he wouldn't have taken the job. I mean,
that's true too.
Look, if somebody, I used to teach college English. And if somebody came to me and said, we need you to be the president of Harvard, because he used to teach composition, I would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't know what I'm doing. No, I can't do that. I will run that $1 billion institution into the ground.
Yep.
Because I know, you adults tend to have sense of themselves. I don't think he's an adult. I think he was a frat boy. He was a partier. He was a, TV personality. He's a philanderer. Clearly, he's been with, his current wife gave birth to his child while they were both married to different people.
Yeah.
Like he's not a serious person. Just not a serious person. And I think and it's evidenced by him taking the job in the first place. Okay, so here's my question for you.
Yeah.
It's a perfect off-ramp right now. The rest of everything falls in perfect line. What happens? Like let me rephrase that. What needs to happen? Like because the caveat here is that we still have Trump.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
The flag officers are not necessarily an open revolt, but close.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got many that are resigning. I mean, not just Southcom. You have other officers that have stars on their shoulders who have resigned, and senior enlisted advisors who are just as important, if not more important, than the admirals and generals are resigning.
So
early retirement.
Let's say Hegseth resigns or is pushed out. Mm-hmm. What then? Because we still have Trump at the top.
You better put in a Secretary of Defense that has some goddamn respect, like documented respect. Trump got General Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis, to be his first Secretary of Defense because everybody said pick Mattis. The military said pick Mattis because he's respected. You got to find someone like that. And even Mattis left after dealing with Trump's nonsense because he shielded the military from a lot of the stupidity that was trying to be pushed upon it. Right? I don't know anybody, not off the top of my head, with the integrity and the clout and the respect of the active duty force that is willing to tolerate Donald Trump. That is the problem. There are plenty of guys and girls that could be sec deaf that are capable of doing it. But you've got to ask, do they have the personality to endure challenge after challenge, illegal order after possible illegal order to shield the force? And so the question that I've got since Admiral Halsey stepped down was, well, why would he step down? Because he needs to stay there and push back. Okay, let me explain something to you guys. Number one, when the president gives you an order and you are the COCOM, which is the highest rank you can be over military forces, and you say no, you know what happens? The president fires you and finds someone else to do it, and they just dismiss you quietly. You don't get the political statement of stepping down because you were the one fired. Because guess what? They're going to find someone to try to execute those orders anyway. But when you do it in the manner that Admiral Halsey did it, it brought attention to it worldwide. So first of all, by the time he stepped down, he had already pushed back multiple times. These guys are not just they push back. And then when they realize he's not going to listen, I need to get out the way and I need to make it public so people know this is a reason. Now, he has not formally said why he's left, but you do not leave a position that you're supposed to be there for 3 years after only barely 1, especially as a 4-star. Doesn't happen. Never happens. Never happens. Okay. And then on top of that, whoever they try to select to be the successor at Southcom, they're going to get grilled about this particular subject matter in Venezuela, which is exactly what you want. Congress has to reassert its oversight. So when you ask me what's next, they're going to find someone else. Congress is going to go around, have to confirm him or her. And here's the thing. When they do that, that is when Congress can reassert their authority over the chief executive and the commander in chief saying, hey, we're not picking someone that's going to sit there and try to commit war crimes just because you say not to. That's the check. But once again, the House needs to be in session. Once again, the government needs to be working. Once again, the GOP needs to be able to check their own person, because right now, history is recording that Admiral Halsey refused to basically commit war crimes. That's what it's recording.
Yeah.
It's not recording that, hey, he pushed back. No. He's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I don't think it's a coincidence that that man in particular, based on where he went to college, where he's from in my great state of Georgia, and based on his skin color and everything he had to do to get to that position, he's like, nope, not compromising, which I applaud.
It's a big statement, and it speaks loudly, I think. And how do you think the the enlisted servicemen and women are interpreting that?
I don't have to think, I know. They know exactly why he did it. They're not stupid. They know why. Now, you may have younger servicemen and women who are like, well, is it that big a deal? The older ones are like, yes, it's a big damn deal. Those of us that fought the global war on terrorism and understand how rules of engagement and use of force works, we do. These young cats, and if you notice when they have these rallies with the military in the background, Fort Bragg, freaking Norfolk, Virginia, and then Camp Pendleton, because they hit all three, they put the youngest service members they can find up there because they know they don't understand the military protocol. It's by design. It's by design because they put senior cats up there like me behind there. We're going to sit there and look like this.
Right.
And not say a damn word because we understand that, just like the generals and admirals did in Quantico. And Trump commented on it. He's like, you can clap if you want. They're like, we ain't clapping. We ain't clapping. And I'm telling you, that article, they lost Hegseth, and I'm going to be completely honest and direct. I think Trump lost his generals and admirals too, the way he likes to think of them. Lost them both in 1 2-hour, 3-hour period in Quantico, Virginia. He lost the entire leadership of the United States military. I said it when it happened, and now it's starting to come out. This is not a shock. This is not a shock because we are not calibrated to act this way. We're not a peacekeeping force. We're not a Gestapo. We are not someone that summarily executes people without proof or evidence. That is not the United States military. Never has been. And now they want us to be that. We're not doing it.
Well, it goes back to the whole thing about Hegseth not being serious. Trump isn't a serious person either. I mean, he's an ego wrapped in a Big Mac wrapper. Like, he's just a piece of shit, basically. But he marched around that stage and made crack jokes, and the generals and admirals in that audience were very serious people who had a level of expertise that most of us will never even comprehend. Right.
No.
And not just in any of our professional realms. And they were drawn out of their posts, and they were flown across the world to leave all the people that they command to sit there and watch this dog and pony show. Of course they lost respect. It's like, what are we doing here? This is not you can see it. This guy's not serious, not a serious person.
No. I think he made a statement here recently this past week where he said he doesn't think he's going to heaven.
Okay.
And I was just like, that's a very shocking statement coming from him. But I think his health issues are way more serious than American people know. And I think he's now starting to confront his mortality. And I think he's made the calculation in his mind, whatever. I can't think for him, but I think he's made the calculation. I'm going to get as much as I can so I can declare myself a winner while I'm still here. So when you see the deal that he made with Argentina, this billions of dollars going there while we have military members in food pantry lines trying to get fed with SNAP. Yeah, right. With the food SNAP program about to be defunded here November 1st, and 5 million people aren't going to be able to get anything to eat. When you see him telling the damn Department of Justice that, hey, all these legal challenges against me cost me about $200 million, pay me back, which he said today. Did you see that? I was just like, wow, this. It's just robbing people blind because he's president. Pay him $230 million for past cases. No judgment, no nothing. Just, hey, whatever. I see, Vanessa, you said you think he's trying to get sympathy from the religious right. I Well, if that was the case, he should, back during his first term when he held the Bible up across the street from the White House, he could have held it up the right side up. And when they asked him about Bible verses, he could have said, 2 Corinthians instead of 2 Corin or whatever the heck he said.
Yeah,
you could tell he never opened a damn thing. He could actually try to learn about the religion that he supposedly is all about. I think he
can't learn anything.
Right. I just think he's at a point now where he cannot separate himself and his actions from a lifetime of robbing people and mistreating people and abusing people. And he doesn't know what to do. So he's just going to go into the sunset doing what he's always done, only at the most epic level. $400 million plane from Qatar. Here's an Air Force base in freaking Idaho. I mean, the cryptocurrency thing. What I need people to explain to me, those who still support this man, I just need you to tell me why. Why? Is it because he hates the same people you do? That's what I think. But most importantly, if any other president in the history of this country did these things, how would you take it?
I mean, look, again, it's gauche to say, well, imagine if Obama did it. But really, imagine if Obama did it. Imagine if Obama ripped out the East Wing of the White House.
Oh, my goodness.
In a gilded ballroom.
Right.
While thousands of government employees are not getting paid, while servicemen and women are having trouble feeding their families.
Yep.
What is this?
And I'm glad you mentioned the White House ballroom thing. Because of his construction background, he realizes that he will be forgotten as fast as possible when he's gone. He needs something to basically say, I was here. And he's doing it in the most grotesque, grandiose fashion. I mean, have you guys seen the Oval Office, what it looks like, all the gold leafing they put in there? I mean, it's the most tacky thing. I think to myself, you're talking about a place where, Roosevelt, all these guys made real history-making decisions. Very serious place. And this dude is just like gold everywhere. Like it's like a floor of Trump Tower back in the 80s. I have a hard time processing all of this, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I'm encouraged because I see the cracks. The cracks are here now. You see Marjorie Taylor Greene. You see Tom Massey. You see these people who are just like, come on, man. Like, come on. I think Senator Thune in this conversation that he's going to have with Trump is going to be very blunt, because there's a realization here that if the Democrats do come back into power at the midterms, they're going to impeach the hell out of him. And this time, there may be serious traction behind some of this.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this weekend, in my opinion, in a nutshell, showed the current state of the United States, its leadership, and how the country feels. We had a president, a commander-in-chief, who was willing to risk the lives of American citizens because those American citizens had the nerve and audacity to do the most American thing ever, and that's protest. The gold is something. I mean, it's bad. Like, it is really bad. And I'm like, is it at least real gold? I mean, I don't
know. I think it's, well, who cares? I mean, either way, it's tacky. It's just tacky. It's just garbage.
Yeah. Anything in the chat that we can talk about before we sign off here? Any questions, any comments that
love your words, Bobby? Thank you. Let's see. Apparently the demolition company handling the East Wing are getting bombarded with horrible reviews, which, I mean, I saw those pictures today and I was like, man, imagine being that operator on that backhoe, just wheeling up to the White House and like pausing and thinking to yourself,
I'm destroying the living history of the United States, some of which is kind of funny. So when Truman was in office, they gutted the White House down to its foundations, but they made a point to keep foundational pieces, right? So the original pieces, the cornerstone, for example, that was laid by Washington and stuff like that, the cornerstones that slaves put down right before 1800 are
Yep.
still there. These guys are ripping through that
Yeah.
and the history that is there for
It's a
something
hack job.
nobody asked for.
They're all probably Russian construction crews, with
Yeah.
high-tech gear they're putting in. But like, the from the British taking over the capital,
Mm-hmm.
in that
Mm-hmm.
you still have burn marks from
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
the sacking
Burning
and
the White House. Right. I mean,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
amazing. And
Um,
someone said the ballroom is a distraction. Yeah, the Epstein files. Epstein files and the
yeah,
shutdown. We are going through a shutdown because of the Epstein files. I want people to be very, very clear. I want to be very clear on this. We are suffering a government shutdown due to the fact Congress is not in session, due to the fact that the first thing Congress wants to do is release all the Epstein files. And that's due to the fact that Mike Johnson was told by Donald John Trump not to let that happen.
yeah,
Period. Point blank in the discussion. We got people driving DoorDash because they know, Trump knows, which is why he's made the statement about not going to heaven.
yeah,
I think he realizes that this is coming. But to watch the White House be demolished on one side for something that's going to be the most gaudy looking thing
yeah.
ever.
It's gonna be like, ugh.
Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Well, Bobby, it's been great.
Yeah.
So I feel like we could keep, like last week, we were like, let's keep it about a half hour.
Yeah.
An hour and 10 minutes later, we're still
Yeah,
ranting,
we're
It's like,
trying to be better, people. We are trying to be better. Let's see, well, real quick. What do you?
let me
Yeah,
run that. I
oh
see it.
wow. So yeah, but what do you want as a solution? You have to have a social economic plan and the direction you want in politics. I think that's a very good question, and I'm not one of those type of people that will sit there and complain about a problem without actual solutions. So here's where I think America is in trouble because we don't know our own history. We've seen this before. William McKinley did this whole tariff thing at the beginning of the 20th century before he was shot and killed, and Theodore Roosevelt had to come in and clean it up. Let's talk about this. Number one, you live in the most integrated time in the history of mankind, where I can sit there and talk to someone in Zimbabwe like it's nothing, like they're right down the street. Do you honestly think an isolationist economy where we tariff everybody and we section off the world economy, and you at the same time say you're a world leader, is going to work in the 21st century? It will not. It will not. As someone who's traveled this world multiple times, it doesn't work. And so what you're seeing with our farmers, for example, paying the price for this, soybeans, stuff like that, that aren't going anywhere, rotting on the vine because A, you got no one to sit there and pick it because you're running them out and deporting them. And then B, you cut off the marketplace for them by pissing off everybody in the world with 100% tariffs. Unacceptable. First thing, you reverse every goddamn tariff day one of new
Yeah.
administration.
Yep.
Day one. That's the number one thing. Get your economy flowing again. Number two, pause all deportations right now and come up with a humane way to do it. We purposely have not had immigration judges at the numbers that we need to for almost 45 years. Simple solution. You can process this much faster. This is why people overstay visas. This is why they're stranded, because we purposely don't process them fast enough, because we were worried about an invasion of people of color going back to Reagan. See, know your history. The problem with that is the PhDs, the MDs, and all of the high-level, high-functioning skill sets to run our American society are imported more than they're generated here in America. Okay? So if you have, and you can check these numbers, when you have people in America that are native born taking less engineering courses, less medical courses, and less highly complex college courses to provide that, what are you going to do? But instead, we have done the opposite. We have now gone reverse. We are now brain draining ourselves because we're forcing those people who came here from all over the world, who are very good at those things that I just mentioned, to include AI, chips, all of those things. We're running them off. Guess where they're going? China told multiple Nobel Prize laureates, come to China of all places. Russia, everybody, our competitors are recruiting the people we are trying to kick out. So that's the other thing. Number three, Domestically, you have divided the country more than anybody has since the goddamn Civil War. You come in and immediately tell Black, Brown, Asian, LGBTQ people that you don't count. Your history and contributions don't matter, and we're going to literally erase you from history. Immediate reversal of all of that.
Yeah.
Immediate reversal of all of that. Now, this is the other thing that I would do. Even if I was Republican, Democrat, whatever, the members of Congress, the leadership, the majority, the minority leaders, the whips, all of them, they're coming to the Oval Office. We're going to have a conversation about what our strategic goals are for the United States. Every 4 years, a national security policy strategy is supposed to come out. We have yet to see one. You know why? Because there isn't one. I've been talking about this for months. You cannot direct a country if you have not told that country what our priorities are and why. This is leadership 101. I'm not some politician, this, that, and the other, but I do know this. When I have faulty leadership, when I have hacks and loyalists put in positions of real power and authority that have the ultimate responsibility to defend and prosper this country, and they are incompetent and incapable of it, we are going to be a dead society. Period. Let's see, but one wants balance in society to achieve that kind of. No, it's not about controlling capitalism. It's about giving access to capitalism. Everybody, I hate to break it to you, is not extraordinary. Everybody's unique, but they're not extraordinary, right? But the thing is, everybody should have access to determine what they can and cannot be, unfettered. That is what America is supposed to. You come to America, trust me, as a Black guy that grew up in the Deep South, we're not promising you're going to be rich. We're not going to promise you social economic mobility. What we're supposed to promise, though, is the access to do it if you are motivated enough, if you prove yourself worthy enough without bias or anybody restraining you. That's what we're supposed to be. And so the problem with that is those who are mediocre and won the vagina lottery, being born to the right family in the right zip code with the right money in their pocket, feel threatened by people who, like me, started a lot lower and kicked ass to get to that level. They think that's oppression when really it's the ultimate equity in society. And people don't want that. And so think about it like this. In the last 35 years, we went from having 15, 16 billionaires to now over 1,000. The wealth distribution has changed, and it's staying in the same families with the same access to get that capital and grow it. Meanwhile, the same families that have been in poverty for generations, Black, white, it doesn't matter. They stay in the cycle because they're denied access to actually have an attempt to make their lives better. You look at your school systems. If you look at your school systems and the history of universities in America, you will see the history, the unfettered history of how that system works. And for those of us who've traveled the world and seen different, we now understand why that is. That's why Trump went after the Ivy League schools and this, that, and the other, trying to lock down the elitism of who can go in there and who can't, which is why they're destroying the Department of Education, which is why they don't want you to be able to get Pell Grants, FAFSA loans, this, that, and the other, to make it more palatable for you if you have the ability to go to those schools. That's why. So, yeah, there are problems, but I got plenty of dang solutions. Anybody that's looking at this has solutions if they just think through it for 2 seconds. But that's not what we're trying to do.
No, Bobby, this is redlining on crack, on steroids, right? Mm-hmm. This is not only are we not allowing access to services, resources, the sort of capitalist system that we have to people who are non-white, we're trying to make everyone forget that they ever existed in the first place. This is wild. And what do you do with a permanent underclass? It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve anybody to have, except those 1,000 billionaires. And those 1,000 billionaires, by the way, if there were 60 before and now there's 1,000, that's 940 former millionaires that became. It's not me who's going to become a billionaire. I hate to tell you. It is a person who was already born with enough money that they could live for. It's all generational wealth. And even when you and I were kids, we were probably told, like, America is the land of dreams. You can have a dream, you can go after it, and you can succeed. And how do I tell my kids that right now and keep a straight face?
Well, And here's the thing, we focus on minority, but it's now, I mean, this is affecting white people too,
Yeah.
middle class white people who can't actually do these things anymore, where they grew up seeing one, father or one single income being able to provide, can't do it no more. You've got college graduates that cannot buy anything. And if they're lucky, maybe possibly rent if they get roommates to live someplace and start their career.
Mhm.
And it's all happened in the last 40 years. This unbelievable increase of pricing to live. And then you want to know why no one's having babies. Can't afford them. Can't
Yeah, it's
afford
an
them.
economic decision. Of course it is.
Can't
Yeah.
afford them. And so, Trump, his administration has highlighted we need to have more babies. What he means is we need to have more white babies. It's number one.
I
I'm going to
mean,
be very blunt. And then number two, if you are a responsible parent, why would you try to bring a child into this world that you cannot afford? And then you're doing nothing. Parental leave, you're against that. Raising the minimum wage, you're against that. You're against
healthcare.
all of the things that would make it possible for people to have children. I literally, you cannot talk out of both sides of your mouth. I'm
No.
not saying that you're anti-American or you're not trying to have the American dream. Like James Baldwin said, I can't tell you that America's racist. I'm just presenting the evidence of which I have been presented. You see what I'm saying? And this is the evidence of which I have been presented. A bachelor's degree does not get you near what it got you 30 years ago. Now, though, you incur generational debt to get it, and you don't get the same results when you use it. That
That's
is
right.
by design. And yes, child labor laws, Arkansas being ground zero of that, going out the window. So the progressive movement that Teddy Roosevelt led where children do not have to go into meat factories, being rolled back. Again, who do you think that is? Who do you think that's affecting? It's not just minority groups. It's affecting the, quote, average American. The wealth gap has become so large that no matter how hard you work, unless major systemic changes in how we run our society happen, you will never be able to get what your grandfather or your grandmother were able to do just 50 years ago, just one lifetime ago. And that's harsh. And here's the thing, the one big beautiful bill that was just passed is going to make this a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah, it's getting further away, that dream, further and further away every day. And I think
I hope I didn't tick off the chat by saying all that, but someone asked the question and I'm going to give you an answer.
it's true. I mean, Ida's comments are great. And I think that, look, we'd be really smart. Democrats would be really smart to focus on income inequality and wealth inequality, because it's the oligarchy that's struggling us out, right? And the biggest trick they do is convince some middle class white guy that it's poor people who
That's
are
the problem.
causing
Exactly.
their problems. That's
Exactly.
bullshit. That is
exactly
the biggest lie.
It's not only the biggest lie, it's opposite. It's like that lower working class that they're going after in ICE raids are literally the linchpins of our economy. Without
Yes.
them, you have no economy. And we're
Nope.
seeing it. Do you really think? And this is the thing that's amazing to me. Notice how the Trump administration focuses on the stock market's performance. They do
Yeah.
not look at other indications of the economy, quality of life index, all of these things that tell a more accurate picture for the average American. They will never talk about it because they already know the answer. Gina Ramirez is talking about my teens don't want children. Don't blame them.
Don't blame
Don't
them.
blame them. From having kids and having them go to schools where they can get shot up to not be able to afford anything,
to struggle through their lives and have nothing to show for it except an iPhone addiction and right, like that's kind of it, and a world that you can't breathe the air or drink the water in.
It's amazing.
It is. It's really something. I'm glad we have solved all the problems tonight, Bobby.
That was like phase one, and I'm sorry, chat, for the rant, but I mean,
no, this is why we love you, Bobby. We want the rants. When we first, just a little behind the scenes, when we first met Bobby, we were like, "What kind of guests would you want on the show?" He's like, "I don't need guests. What are you talking about?" And it's true, but that's, man, you are delivering it every week, and we just this is like one of my favorite hours of the week, Bobby. I really,
Nah.
really am so grateful to have you here.
No, I appreciate it. It's you, when you travel the world and see other people doing it differently, you come back home and you question why. Why are we doing it like this? Right? And I got no answers except for the fact it's deliberate. It's deliberate, and people tend to pick a side, and then they latch on to that identity. No matter how much you're getting punched in the face, at least you're still this identity.
Yeah.
That ain't it, people. That ain't it.
It ain't it.
That ain't it.
Well, Bobby, you have a big show coming up next week.
Yeah. So we will be interviewing, if all goes well, Amy McGrath, who is running for United States Senate out of Kentucky, former fighter pilot, literally an American hero. And now that Mitch McConnell is stepping down, she ran against him his last election and made some pretty good inroads. Kentucky is a very interesting state because they're one of the biggest benefactors of the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare. Right. Now, they hate Obamacare, but they love the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is, but they are upset that those benefits are going away. And I tell you, this is it's going to be a very interesting interview. It's going to be very.
It will be. Yeah, I'm really excited to hear it.
And Ida, thank you for all the comments and to the rest of the chat. I mean, this is exactly what we
love back at you.
Yeah, seriously. Well, that goes a 30-minute time.
I knew as soon as you were like, let's go about 30 minutes. I was like, yeah, we'll see about that. Okay.
I apologize, chat. I apologize.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is really and also you in the chat, your comments make this show.
Oh yeah, absolutely
operate. I love it. And
absolutely.
Can I get a beer?
Yeah.
Every time I see it, I'm like, I would like a beer actually.
Yeah.
Later in the week, maybe.
All right, everyone. Right. We'll get out your hair and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
See y'all.